Omnath's growth from mono green to 5-color really reminds me of those AI get more ridiculous memes. But let's go ahead and do a deck doctor upgrade for Omnath Locus of All. If you want to take a look at this deck before you watch the rest of this video, I've got it linked down in the description, and you can tell me whether you think my cuts are good or bad. If you're new here, I'm Harmless and I give Magic the Gathering cards away. If you're interested in getting some free cards, go ahead and sub to my channel, go to the channel page, and fill out my universal entry form that is linked there. This is going to be one of my more lengthy deck doctors because I'm cutting 9 cards and adding 9 cards in. The reason for that is I think I might be going in a slightly different direction than you would have originally, but I think it's going to make more sense. Just for reference, let's make sure that we understand what Omnath's ability is. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card if it has 3 or more colored mana symbols and its mana cost. If you do, add 3 mana in any combination of its colors and put it into your hand. If you don't reveal it, put it into your hand. So, what that means is that if we have a 3 mana, 3 color card, then that mana gets put into our mana pool, the card gets put into our hand, and then we can immediately play that card, essentially for free. So that's the direction I'm going with these upgrades. My second cut is Augur of Autumn. Yes, being able to play lands off the top of your library is good. However, that Coven ability is just kind of meh. So I just think that Mantis Rider is pretty interesting. Evasion, haste, and keeping a blocker up for free with this deck is really good. My next cut is Embodiment of Spring. This is just not a great rate on a card, and Animato is going to be a really great card in this deck because that top deck manipulation with its +1 is just going to do a whole lot of work leading up to your next turn. My next cut is Meadow Boon. This is actually a pretty cool card, but looking at your deck and kind of where things are, Crackling Doom is some great removal and also deals some damage to the table. So if you're getting down to low life totals, this can do a lot of work. Nova Chaser is kind of interesting. I actually almost feel like if this had Flash, this would be a great piece of protection for Omnath, but it doesn't. So you don't really want to be paying this on your main phase. And I'm going to replace that with the ever-changing Dane, because being able to create token copies of stuff is pretty fun. And again, you can play this for free with Omnath's ability. My next cut is Thorn Elemental, because this would be actually pretty good if this deck was set up to cheat Thorn Elemental into play, but it's not. So creating a little bit more of a value engine with this card after playing it for free is not a bad rate. And for our last 3 cuts and adds, we're going to be looking at ways to protect Omnath. So first cut is Mana Tithe. You don't really need to be running Mana Tithe in a deck unless you're in mono white. You've got blue. You've actually already got Counterspell in this deck. And I'm going to replace that with Darksteel Plate. This is just going to be a necessary piece of keeping Omnath on the board, because in a 5-color deck, being able to keep your commander on the field is important. My next cut is Awakening Zone, because this does seem pretty cool, but you're in a 5-color deck, so that colorless mana isn't going to do a whole lot for you. I'm going to replace that with Lightning Greaves, because again, we need to keep Omnath on the field, and this is a great way to do it. And my last cut is Living Twister, because this is not a landfall deck. All of those different lands are going to be important for making sure that you can get Omnath onto the field and recast him if you need to. So I'm going to replace that with Blacksmith Skill, because this is a great cantrip to make sure that your targeted removal against Omnath is not going to work. If you thought this content was interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below with a commander that you'd like me to take a look at it. And if you would like to get priority access to my Deck Doctor upgrades, go ahead and join my Patreon. It is linked in the description below.